But on to a more serious note. Well, defensive end Greg Hardy had some comments from the other day of his interview with Adam Schefter about his whole domestic violence fiasco. And we're going to play some of those comments for y'all right here, right now, so y'all can
I
hear.
never put my hand on anyone in my whole entire life. No, sir. That's just not how we raised. As you can tell, like I said again, it's the Bible Belt. It's just something that's, I won't even say frowned upon. It's non-existent in most Southern homes.
You say you did nothing wrong, you're innocent, and yet the pictures of her that surfaced would seem to suggest a woman who had had some type of physical contact. How do you explain that?
I will stop you there and say that I didn't do anything wrong. You know, that situation occurred, and that situation was handled. But saying that I did nothing wrong is a stretch. But saying that I am innocent is correct. Yes, sir.
Did you ever put your hands on her?
No, sir.
Never.
And then he goes on to say no. And then his former teammate Steve Smith Sr. replied back with in a tweet. He tweeted out the interview excerpt that we just played for y'all. And he said, "So I guess she tripped on the carpet or something. My mom is a survivor of domestic violence, and I am an advocate against it." And pretty much it's one of those things that now it's Greg Hardy at this point, he doesn't have a job in NFL. He's a free agent. And even going in deeper into the interview, because that was only about a 43-second clip of the interview. But when Adam Schefter went into the pictures, this is what Greg Hardy said about the pictures. He said pictures are pictures, and they can be made to look like whatever they want to. I didn't say I didn't do anything wrong. That situation occurred, and that situation was handled. But as a man, you can't avoid situations that aren't your fault or are your fault. So, fellas, what do you guys think about obviously, this is following, for those who don't know the background story, this is following the accusation against Greg Hardy for having thrown his girlfriend up against the bathroom wall, then having thrown her on the bed with automatic assault rifles under it or on it, and then choking her and getting very physical with her. This comes after those allegations, in which he was also convicted in a bench trial in 2014, but then it was appealed in 2015, and then the case was thrown out because the girlfriend's name, Nicole Holder, failed to cooperate with the authorities, in which people assumed she was paid off. So what do you guys think about this most recent comments by Greg Hardy about the whole situation? Khalid, we'll start with you. What do you think?
The thing about Greg Hardy is he always seems to put himself in just awkward situations, and this whole interview is just not a good interview. I feel like just for Greg Hardy and his images, because you have even his own teammates coming up to advocate against his comments and stuff like that, or just having their own opinion against this stuff. And the fact that he's a free agent now, it just kind of puts it in just a bad kind of situation, because Greg Hardy, we can assume that because there's not really, we weren't there, so we don't know if he did it or did not. But I mean, there's definitely big assumptions or kind of like obvious reasons why we assume that he did do it. And for him to say that he said he didn't hit them or like hurt her or whatever, or he said that he didn't do anything wrong or something, he's definitely in. He's just wrong for trying to. He's saying that he's an innocent man, and we have these pictures, and even your teammates is going against it, and it's just he just needs to keep quiet, basically.
All right. Like, let me get to Rudy. What do you think? What do you think about Greg Hardy's comments?
I think that Greg Hardy's unstable. I think that he's not right in the head. I do believe that he did put his hands on that woman, and I think he's just trying to do anything that he can to try and clear his name and get back in the NFL again. I'm going to commend the NFL and all the teams right now for not signing him, for waiting for more information to come out, or not dealing with him at all, because what he did or was accused of doing is unspeakable and it's not right. But this is something he probably should have just kept quiet, like Khalid said. Just keep quiet, keep your face out of the media, try to keep a low profile, and maybe somebody will think about signing you before training camp starts, because you doing this to me makes you look more guilty. You going out and having to say I never did that is making me feel as if you might have done it. So that's how I feel about it.
All right, Rashad, what do you think about his comments?
I don't know why everybody's surprised by what he said, because I mean, it's not like he's going to change what he said before he got signed to the Dallas Cowboys. It's not like he's gonna change what he said when he was signed to the Dallas Cowboys. So I mean, nothing really gonna change now from what he says. So it's just the same perspective what we've been seeing from him the whole time. Nothing's different. So for people to act like, oh, maybe he played it, maybe he played the season, maybe he actually confessed to whatever he done. I'm not saying what he did was the right thing to do by continuing to stick what he said and not doing actually when we have evidence of what happened. But I'm not surprised at what he said because I mean you're not gonna make him change his opinion just because he played a season in the NFL and people think, oh, he needs a job now, so he's gonna change what he feels. He's gonna say what he said before. He's gonna continue to always say what he felt actually happened. So it's like no matter who asks him, no matter who it's gonna be the same answer from whoever it is.
Well, to me, it's one of those things that if Greg Hardy could get a job in the NFL, then Ray Rice should definitely have been hired by some team. I mean, Ray Rice is like 28 years old, and Greg Hardy who's 27. I mean, people were talking about he was signed because of his value, but prior to his year in Dallas, yeah, his value was high because he was one of the proeminent defensive ends in the league, and then last year he only recorded 6 sacks for the Cowboys. So you look at it now, and if a team picks up Greg Hardy, and you see him get a job, I don't understand what reason Ray Rice can have, or for people gonna have to not give Ray Rice a job, because Ray Rice has shown the contrition with the mistake he made, and he's shown the proper amount of remorse. But Greg Hardy hasn't shown any amount of remorse for what he's done at all. And so at this point, I feel like a lot of people are upset about it because they're like, dang, bro, even when you are now you're a free agent, and at that point in time when you got signed to the Cowboys, we didn't have like at least all this information available to us. So we didn't even have the pictures and everything. Now we have the pictures and all that. We would expect you to be somewhat remorseful to an extent, or at least take ownership of what you did. And then he comes out and says pictures can be made to look like whatever they want to look like, and then says, I never put my hands on a woman. And it's like Steve Smith said, then how did she fall? Like, did she trip on the carpet? Because those were very graphic images of her bruises and the damages done to her body. So you look at things like that, and you're just like, well, you just don't know what to say for the guy. I mean, I agree with Rudy. It seems like sometimes he's a little bit. He's got a few bolts loose up there in the dome. So, do you guys see him getting signed this NFL season by a team? Do you think he'll have a job?
I think talent-wise alone, he'll probably end up with a job, but it might not happen until somewhere midway in the season, or at the very least after training camp. People like to say that the guy is toxic to a locker room, or he's this or he's that. But at the end of the day, the NFL is a business. They sign people that can get the job done, and he can get the job done. We may not like it as people on the outside looking in. As many groups can protest it as much as they want to. But at the end of the day, he will most likely get signed like Alden Smith. He just got signed to a 2-year contract, and he can't even play this year. Mm-hmm. Like Greg Hardy can play.
Yeah.
So I fully expect him to get signed by someone. Wouldn't be surprised if it was like a Patriots. I would not be surprised if he gets signed by week 8, maybe even sooner. But I do think he'll be on a roster at some point this season. I think there's already been reported interest, but the teams that are interested are trying to keep it hush-hush so they don't get flamed in the public eye.
Okay. What do you think, Khalid?
Yeah, I think he's going to be on the team. Like Rudy said, just because of his talent, he's definitely going to be on some team, whether or not it's sooner or later. He's definitely going to be playing by the end of the season.
All right, Rashad.
He's too talented not to play with him. Like, the reason people picked him and not Ray Rice is because Ray Rice wasn't as productive as he should have been before the Team 0 point everything came out. So you look at that and you look at Greg Hardy, what he's done. And I mean, even though, he missed 4 games last season, and has 6 sacks, that's not that good, but it's not bad either. There's a lot of top DNs that, didn't record half a sack a game, like during this past season. So you look at it like he's still productive. He still gets the job done. He still helps out a defense. So yeah, he's gonna get signed because there's teams that need defensive ends badly. And you bring someone like that in, and that fills in the plug what you need because he can play. He played last season, so he's not like sitting there, couch potatoing it up, being a bum, not getting no reps or anything in. Like he's in the shape right now to play. It's just teams like right now, a lot of teams don't want to deal with people criticizing them.
Well,
he will play.
If the case about production, then shouldn't this be the year he doesn't get picked up? Because if Ray Rice's year's numbers, it wasn't like it was bad compared to the average Joe Lucky running back. I mean, some running backs would be happy to break over 800 yards or so. And then when Ray Rice had that season below 1,000, everybody's like, "Oh, he's damaged goods. We don't need him no more." That and the third. But then when Greg Hardy has a 6 sack season, it's like.
But Greg Hardy didn't play every game in the season.
Neither did Ray Rice.
But it's different because you still didn't break 1,000 is supposed to be, if you're a premier running back and you can play most of the games, which he did. He played most of the games that season. That should be an accomplishment. And if you go from running like 1,500 to not even hitting 1,000 the next year, that throws red flags up.
But if Greg Hardy played most of the year and as a premier sack getter, you get 6 sacks. Because if we're saying Ray Rice didn't play, because think about it. If you take out 16, if you say you just rush for 100 yards a game, and that's about 1,600 yards, and then you take out about 4 of those games of Ray Rice's yards, that could be -4. That could be a minus of 400 yards from he already rushed as a rush leader. Even though I leave him at 1,200, Ray Rice is dangerous because he doesn't just run the ball; they throw him the ball also. So he gets yardage more so as all-purpose yards. So when it comes to things like that, then it's hard to understand why he doesn't get a job, but then Greg Hardy can. Because people like it, yeah. Because a lot of people like pass rushers more than it's honestly it's one of those things that you just sit there and you look at at this point now. It seems as though what is the criteria for that? Because if Greg Hardy gets picked up and then Ray Rice doesn't get picked up, how does that make the league look?
What's that to do with it's the teams that want them.
No, it's the teams that want you. But if you're
doesn't want a player,
but team looking for Ray Rice.
That's what I'm saying. There are plenty of teams that need a running back. There's plenty of teams that need a running back. The Patriots would love to have a good running back. When what's it called got hurt, the Patriots could have picked up Ray Rice, but yeah, I could have been Dion Lewis. No, I think it was Dion Lewis. But when Dion Lewis and LeGarrette Blount got hurt, they could have picked up a running back, and nobody picked up Ray Rice. And then the Cowboys picked Greg Hardy up before the pictures came out, before the pictures and all that came out. Now that you hear his comments again, where he's still standing by this position of I did nothing wrong, I'd never put my hands on a woman. Can that turn teams off in a sense? And then if a team picks him up, then won't people be looking at the league like, so how come Ray Rice isn't getting picked up? Because if Greg Hardy's gotten a 3rd chance at this point, Ray Rice hasn't even gotten a 2nd. And he is not like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? He's showing more regret. And if we want to talk about drop-offs, I mean, the drop-offs are essentially the same. Then how does that make people on the outside look in and view this league if we're willing to take a guy that hasn't shown any regret, hasn't shown this and that, but just because we might need this running back. Like they have signed guys off of practice squads before they've signed Ray Rice. And he's actually shown to be something, whereas guys on practice squads haven't necessarily done the same. What were you gonna say, Khalid?
I think it's because the difference of the images and the video. The fact that you actually see Ray Rice hurting this girl,
yeah,
versus seeing Greg Hardy doing hurting the girl and just having the pictures. I think it does leave bad taste in people's mouths, and they want to pick up somebody who's clearly you see clearly visually with the video that he's done some damage, that he's had domestic violence background, versus Greg Hardy, who's still questionable because you don't see him actually hitting them in the pictures. I mean, it's pretty obvious whether or not he did it or not, but it's just because we don't see him doing it. I think the league can give him more leeway instead.
I'm gonna piggyback off what Khalid said and say that I think that's the big issue here. Like at the end of the day, we saw a video of Ray Rice dragging his unconscious girlfriend through a hallway. We saw pictures of Greg Hardy's stuff after the fact of him already being signed. And then at the end of the day, regardless of whether she's paid off or not, because we cannot confirm or deny that she was, he was not proven guilty of anything. We see Ray Rice dragging this girl through the hallway. And don't get me wrong, I'm not advocating for him to be signed, but the NFL doesn't really care about what the image of a certain player is. As long as they haven't been found guilty of anything, or as long as you can't prove that they did it, they're going to keep getting chances to do things. Even when they are proven guilty of things, if the talent speaks, they're gonna get a chance. Look at Alden Smith. He walked into an airport and said he was gonna blow it up, or that he had a bomb, and is continued to get in trouble as far as DUIs and whatnot. And he just signed a 2-year contract. If the talent is there, especially for these teams that are looking at, they want defensive ends and outside linebackers to be these, 6'5", 250, 260-pound guys that can get to the quarterback, regardless of only having 6 sacks last season. He has proven that he could do that before. So it's more of you filling up a positional need with a guy that has a little bit of sketchy character than you filling a positional need with a guy who has Ray Rice has more poo-poo on him than Greg Hardy does, in my opinion. As far as people are going to speak out no matter what against anything that Ray Rice does. They tried to double penalize him for how bad the reaction to him was. And even though his wife can come out and say that, people don't know the full story and this is something they're going to stick together, they're going to work through it because she was wrong too, that's not good enough for people. Like in the public eye, it's like Ray Rice hasn't been punished enough almost to them, and that he doesn't deserve to be back in the NFL. But Greg Hardy is like an anomaly. Like we imagine that he did these things. We do. We imagine he did these horrible things and that he needs to be punished for it. But at the end of the day, he didn't get. There was no verdict.
Well, the bench trial, there was a verdict though. In that bench trial, he was found guilty.
That's the bench trial. But when the big one came up and the girl just stopped cooperating, that's a lot of gray area.
But that's the thing. People are going off of what happened in that bench trial, because once he appealed it, that's why a lot of people are saying, why would she just stop cooperating? And now at this point, she even released a statement to the media saying she just wants to be left. Yeah, she wants to be let alone with her life. Wants to be like he wants everything to just. She just wants to graduate from college, get her degree and stuff like that. But yeah, go on what you were saying.
And I understand that too, but that plays both sides, because there was the same way she said she wants to go on with her life. There are also those people out there who are going to think, I'm not saying that they're right, but there are people out there going to think, oh yeah, she was faking it. That's why she wants to go on with her life. We know she could have been paid off, but come on, let's really look at the history of the NFL and this image that they're trying to create. Ben Roethlisberger has literally sexually assaulted and or raped up to 3 women, one of which even said she didn't want any money for coming out and reporting him. She just wanted this monster to be off the streets. The police officer that was supposed to interview him and get his take retired the following day and was never heard of again. But we praise him as a great quarterback to this day, and it's not even brought up. So it's one of those things where the NFL doesn't really care what you do. If you haven't been technically found guilty, or there's some gray area around what you did and you have talent, you will play. It's the same thing in the NFL draft. These guys have these red flags. They did this, they did that. It might knock their stock down a couple picks. Instead of getting picked 30th, they'll go in the 2nd round, pick number 15. But at the end of the day, they're still going to be in the NFL, because if you can play, you will be on a team.
It's just weird. It's one of those things, because the video does play a big part in it. The video does play a big part, but to me, even because Ray Rice was the initial wave of all the negative NFL stuff that happened last season. So of course he got more backlash and everything from all this, because one, he got all the negative publicity of it all, and he's the one that received the suspension that people didn't feel was good enough. So then the uproar had a lot to do with the suspension, with the 2-game suspension initially, and then once they put in this new rule, that then comes along Adrian Peterson with the child thing, and then Greg Hardy, then Alden Smith. And you have all these different guys, you have all this different stuff happening. So what would you guys say that the people have been more disgusted with Ray Rice or with Greg Hardy?
I think people are disgusted with the league over the Greg Hardy situation, simply because the way that it was handled. I don't agree with that.
I think a lot of people are really disgusted. A lot from what I've read, especially in the media and what I've watched on a lot of shows, and even like on gossip shows, a lot of people have directed their vitriol towards Greg Hardy, because Roger Goodell did his job in suspending him and stuff like that. And then of course the courts, everything happened in court. And a lot of people weren't happy with the Dallas Cowboys for signing him, but that was even before we got the pictures. And now that we have the pictures and all this, and then he comes out not remorseful, I feel as though the public has shown a lot of venom towards him.
Yeah, but they've showed the exact same amount of venom, if not more, towards Ray Rice and continue to do so. There's still, regardless of a bench trial saying what he did, there's still gray area in this situation because the girl stopped cooperating. And when I say that they show more disgust towards the league, I'm not saying as if there's no disgust at all towards Greg Hardy. No one really likes Greg Hardy. People think that Greg Hardy's a shady individual, but at the end of the day, Roger Goodell gave him a punishment that then got reduced. So you sort of you brought down the hammer, but then you like apologized for it and made it a little bit softer. So I think there's equal parts. I think there's equal parts discussed here because yeah, you're disgusted that a human being like this is walking around free with nothing going on essentially to them. Then the people that are supposed to govern him, that it's their job to punish him, and then retract it some, and then have a system in place where he's allowed to appeal the thing that they even retracted to try and get it less. Like that may not be the league's fault that he appealed it, but I think that caused some uproar too. Was like, you already walked back his suspension some, and he already has a contract with a team that's in the league, and now he gets the chance to appeal what you already walked back. So that's what I'm saying. I think that's where some anger and frustration is. There is anger, frustration, and disgust with Greg Hardy, but there's also going to be some with the league for even dialing back the punishment. There's going to be even more after the fact because again, we didn't have the pictures before, and the pictures came out, and it's like, oh yeah, this is heinous now. But there's nothing you can do about that. That's just a timeline situation.
The thing with the league and the suspension, with the suspension getting overturned, it's not like the league overturned it. The NFLPA appealed it, and then when the NFL Players Association appeals it, then I mean, it's not like the league was like, okay, we're going to scale it back. It's that the Players Association appealed it, and then it kind of got the dial back. That's the same thing that happened with the Tom Brady thing, and then now we've seen this whole court case happen with that, where yeah, you know what I mean. But I definitely understand what you're saying as far as the disgust that people have with Greg Hardy and then the Ray Rice. I just feel as though because Ray Rice's remorse has been open and blatant with his remorse, that a lot of people will warm up to have more so warmed up to the idea of Ray Rice being on their team,
and his wife forgives him.
Yeah,
and that's the big thing to me. Like your wife forgives you too.
You know what I'm saying? So
I don't agree that because he had remorse for it, that people don't like, it's not as intense as it is for Greg Hardy, because you can look at Michael Vick's situation, how like after he apologized, but now before he went to the Steelers, everybody, like, you had Steelers fans telling him, like, complaining like they won't gonna watch the NFL no more, or they're not gonna be a Steelers fan no more. And you know how crazy their Steelers fans are.
That's true.
And stuff like that. So it doesn't matter who it is, because no matter what you do, there's gonna be a target group that just dislikes you.
See,
no matter who it is.
I agree with that. You're right. But this is my case for Ray Rice though. There's more of the people that are like, hey, he deserves a second chance. Then there are seems of people that are like, you're terrible, blah blah blah. Because even when you look in the media, Michael Vick is seen as one of the best turnaround stories there is. Everybody knows that. Everybody talks about how great of a personality Michael Vick is and everything. You ask people how Michael Vick is as a guy, they'll say he's a stand-up guy, blah blah blah. You ask people about Ray Rice, they'll say he's a stand-up dude, blah blah. He's nice and this and that. But you look at every single. It doesn't matter if it's ESPN, NFL Network. They're talking about this guy is toxic. They're talking about this guy doesn't need to be in the league. People said that after Ray Rice came out with his apology, they were like, you know what? He deserves a second chance because America is the land of second chances. But people don't seem to want it because Greg Hardy got that second chance. And now that he's maintained this position, a lot of people now are saying that, this dude's never going to change. He's never going to realize the error of his way. So I feel as though the venom towards him is way more intense than it is now. If somebody signed Ray Rice now, of course you're going to have the people that say blah blah blah, the domestic violence and all this. You're always going to have those people that just don't want to forgive. But then there's a lot more plenty of those people that are saying, you know what, he deserves a second chance. He apologized. He came out and his wife forgave him. They didn't get a divorce over it. There's going to be a lot of those people also. But